Have you ever successfully got over a crush? How? Accept that things didn't work out, which is one of the harder things to do. Then find better things to do. Hang out with friends, go to parties, listen to songs you like, have fun, see how life is still enjoyable without them, or decide to spend the time you'd spend thinking about them on something new and worthwhile. Catch up with your family, learn a new hobby, do something that will make yourself proud of you, build up your self-confidence, your skill set, your current friendships. Edit. It can take a while to reach the stage where you actually have the motivation to do those things. Don't get me wrong, I've spent many nights crying myself to sleep and watching Netflix in the dark of my room, eating an endless amount of junk, by finding a new one. There's a book called How to Fall Out of Love which details all the way you, too, can get rid of that pesky crush. Basically, it gives you tools to change your obsessive thinking pattern about that particular individual. Behavioral modification does work. You shoot your shot knowing it won't hit target. Do it anyway to get it over with. Then you can move on forever. This, exactly what I did. I asked her out, knowing she'd say no. Once I got rejected, I lost all interest. I had a crush on her from the time I was 6 years old to the day I asked her out around 18 years old. Easy. You tell them you like them, get rejected, wallow in sadness for a couple of weeks and then poof, crush is gone. As long as it isn't someone you interact with daily, like a coworker. I got rejected and it's been 6 months. I'm still fucked up. I remember how many times I have been in love in my life, totally convinced that I would only ever have feelings for this one person, and then remember how in each and every one of those cases I ended up getting over them. There are a lot of beautiful, interesting, smart, wonderful people in this world, and the only way to meet the ones that are interested in you is to move on from the ones that aren't. Thank you so much, Zach 1018. I'm struggling right now. I'm in love with my ex. She's with a new guy who seems perfect for her. I actually give a shit about her happiness, but I regret so much that I wasn't that guy. I'll move on. I've done it once before, I'll do it again. Thank you. She got married and pregnant. At some point you gotta admit, you're probably not the guy. You don't know them. You know an idealized version of them you've created in your head. Once I internalized that, I stopped having crushes. Time and distance. The less I see them, the less I think about them. Out of sight, out of mind. I live in another state now, and after several years, I don't see or think about her anymore. Takes about 5 years sometimes. You can't really put a timeline on it. Everyone's different and every situation is unique. I've often seen the equation half the time of the relationship is what it takes to move on, and I call bullshit. But ultimately time does win out. You just have to keep strong until it does. And typically in the end you'll look back and wonder what all the fuss was about. Many times, and it's one of the ways I get over breakups too. I remind myself that they aren't perfect. They have flaws. It might seem rude, but I'll point out all the things that bothered me about them. I remember things they did that were toxic or mean, and that shines a different perspective on them. I had a big-eyed crush on a girl and even went out on some dates. One of which was a Valentine's Day weekend sleepover date. Somehow I didn't even get a kiss. Wild. But I went all out. Spent over $100 making her cookies that she could eat, vegan, and had many other dietary restrictions, and made her some really thoughtful gifts. Long story, but anyways, afterwards she had been kinda mean, but I ignored it. When we broke things off I was very sad, and since we honestly were very compatible and had nearly everything, interest-wise, in common, I still felt like she was perfect. But once I really started thinking about her, I went from that to realizing she wasn't very bright, and she was quite childish and disrespectful. She wasn't very nice to me, and a lot of her comments were actually pretty belittling. That made me realize that I'm much better off without her, and that she's only human. There's no reason to waste my emotions crying over her. I suggest doing that. Remember your worth. Your crush is just a person, and they are not as perfect as you think they are. Once you start thinking about their flaws, you might come to find that you dodged a bullet like I did. Good luck. Sometimes when you actually get to know a person, you realize that you had an unrealistic or idealized idea of them. Other times, they actually do live up to your wildest fantasies, and then it really is almost impossible to move on when they dump you. Getting over someone is a simple thing to do. It just takes a little bit of time and discipline. First step is to stop telling yourself I can't or it's impossible to move on from. Second step is to break off contact. If it's a relationship that has ended, Give it 2 weeks to tie up loose ends, give property back, get moved out, etc. Then break off contact. Block them on social media. Delete their number. Don't fall into that temptation to just see what they're doing on social media. If they keep contacting you, tell them to stop. Eventually, you can be friends again if you want, but not until both of you have moved on and are in healthy relationships with other people, and that takes significant time. Tell your friends to stop bringing them up in conversation. Tell them that you are trying to move on and you would appreciate their help in that. Start making memories without them. Instead of eating at the restaurants and cafes you were going to with your ex, go try new places. Go start a new hobby. Make some new friends. Go for a weekend to that town on the beach you haven't visited yet. Allow yourself to grieve for those first few weeks, but pick yourself up and force yourself to live again. The longer you wait, the harder it is. So start today.